Alright, so there's this thing that's gone popular recently called the Mandela effect. For example, those of you under 30, what was that series of picture books that you read as a kid about the family of bears that, like, lived in a tree? Did you see the Berenstein Bears? Because that's wrong, you fucking idiot. The series was titled the Berenstain Bears, which sounds objectively worse, and if you disagree, you're wrong. The Mandela effect is a perceived widespread belief of a falsehood. The effect is named for how society thought Nelson Mandela died in prison back in, like, the 80s, up until 2013 when he actually died and news broke and everyone collectively went, wait, he was alive? What the fuck? My favorite example I found whilst researching this video was apparently a lot of people thought Avatar got a sequel, which, I mean, it was good, but I mean, whoa. This goes beyond just, you know, oh, some people were wrong. It's this widespread thing where people can, like, recount news coverage and plot points, etc. For those people, it basically happened, but it really didn't. There's lots of theories as to why this is. I mean, groupthink and cultural osmosis, yeah, but where did the lies originally come from? Are we in an episode of Sliders? Are we all on crack? Or maybe everyone's just talking out their ass. Today we're going to be talking about something similar to the Mandela effect that not a lot of people are talking about. That it's this, there's this idea called histories for the victors. And while this may seem like, well, yeah, the losers are dead, it goes farther. For instance, but there's also a deeper thing here. It's like, the history you know is wrong. For instance, remember when America peacefully annexed Hawaii? Yeah, that was fake. Yeah, that didn't happen. There was a lot of people died. The Queen wrote a song. It was a bad time. Or remember when the Europeans came to the Americas and they're like, "Sup, natives? You cool? What's good? Let's eat some turkey." And the natives like, "Ah, yeah, let's get some turkey going. You can live here. It's gonna be great, y'all. Besties forever." Yeah, that's not at all how that happened. There was a lot of rape and genocide. Yeah. Yeah. Lots of people are still pissed about that one. So why am I harping you about white people racing all the people they stole land from? Well, because of a story called Liberation of Earth by William Tenn. In this story, we see a satirical take on revisionist history and how it kind of really sucks. Let's talk about that. History 1. The History. William Tenn was born in 1920 and served as an engineer in the army before becoming an English professor. He began around 1945 and published essays, articles, 2 novels, and more than 60 short stories. The Liberation of Earth was written in 1950 and published in 1953. The story draws inspiration from many sources, notably the Korean War by Tenn's own admission. History 2. Liberation. So the story is structured with a framing device of a history being told by a storyteller to his class, many generations after the first liberation of Earth. Apparently, these future humans have pretty much nothing to do but drink water, eat weeds, and listen to their history. No longer are they hindered by things like months, or jobs, or the UN. No, they're free. So, many moons ago, on a Tuesday in August, some aliens pulled up. A giant ship appeared over France, and humans did about what you'd expect. They surrounded it with military vehicles, each armed with one nuke. Each. A 25-foot tripod alien stepped out and said some things for an hour, but nobody knew what it was talking about, because they couldn't understand it. But somebody was like, wait, hold up, pause. It sounds like this really obscure dialect from Bengal. So apparently, like, right around the dawn of civilization, these aliens pop down. Oh, by the way, the aliens are called the Dendi. They pop down and they introduce themselves to what they saw as the most advanced civilization at the time, which apparently was Bengal. And they learned their language, wrote some dictionaries, and then left. So that's why the aliens now are trying to talk to Bengal, because they think, well, they must have been doing pretty well for themselves. But, these people, very, no. Okay. So they found a professor who could speak it and flew him out to France. By that time, the aliens had begun to resemble these large metal obelisks that if you touched them, you would shrink into non-existence. Yeah, it's pretty dope. Eventually, the professor translated for the species the alien speech. Basically, humans are too stupid to join the galactic community, but eventually we'll get there. By get there, I mean eventually we'll be smart enough that aliens will think it's worth it for one of them to take us under their wing and show us what it means to be a galactic-wide civilization. But currently aliens are strictly forbidden from coming to Earth, and they have in many years. Last time they did that, they started a religion or two. Whoops. But now these worm aliens, named the Troxt, are seizing control of the galaxy, and the Galactic Council didn't like that, so they sent the Dendi to prepare the Earth for battle. And by prepare the Earth, I don't mean us, I mean the planet. They were preparing the planet to be fought upon. Yeah. So they built several obelisks around the globe, and then the Troxt arrived, and the Troxt, they pulled up and what's good? And then the obelisks sprang into action. They emitted this weird gas. It's so weird. They emitted this kind of gas that just was not good. It definitely damaged the Troxt. It also wiped out several cities. Just killed all the people inside. Yeah. So the Troxt left, and then they came back, and they did it again, and this time the Troxt won. So the Dendi retreated, and the Troxt introduced themselves as totally the good guys. Don't even worry about it. The Dendi lied. The humans, they got it going great. The Dendi, the humans, they're best pals. They even let the humans help by working as slaves in their factories and mining dangerously deep into the Earth. What? So, yeah, it's a theme with our narrator that he's telling a history that's a combination of other smaller revisionist histories. He's never going to talk bad about whatever alien race was currently occupying the Earth at the time he's referencing. He refers to each time the Earth changes hands as a liberation from the oppressive race he was idolizing in the last paragraph. It's a lot of our liberators told us how the other aliens lied, and we prepared for battle. And then those dicks came back, they fought, some humans died, and our liberators left. Our liberators then told us how the other aliens lied. And on, and on, and on, and on, and on. Eventually, the aliens blew large chunks out of the Earth and destabilized its orbit. No longer valuable outfield, they leave. The humans are left running across a barren planet from watering hole to watering hole, clutching at weeds as our planet hurtles towards the sun. In the end, the aliens really did liberate the Earth. Liberated from war, violence, injustice, hatred. As our planet burns up in the life-giving inferno that is our sun, at last is she truly free. Where did that... What the fuck? Can you believe I wrote that at 3 a.m.? 3-3. Revive. Okay, so, outside of making me wax poetically, this story makes some good commentary on a reality, both of how often countries, particularly the United States, like to step in and help. But it also makes some points on revisionist history, which I touched on in the opening. There are countless examples in our reality of revisionist histories, from cult popularity like Holocaust denial to regionally popular such as the southern United States teaching the Civil War as the War of Northern Aggression and was about states' rights, not slaves. No, don't worry about it. To cultural, like Thanksgiving. Yeah, I wasn't joking in the beginning. There's a simple reason behind all of these different movements. The people in power didn't like how history went. Neo-Nazis and anti-Semites don't really want to be associated with the death of millions of Jews, so they pretend it didn't happen, or at least not at that scale. The most popular critique of revisionism in pop culture is 1984 by George Orwell, where the main character's job is to revise and erase any trace of events the party doesn't like. And in true sci-fi fashion, this is extrapolated into the four-finger scene, or four-light scene if you're a Trekkie. In this scene, an agent of the state tortures our protagonist until he says he's holding up 5 fingers, even though it's only 4. And he doesn't just need to say it. He needs to believe it. He needs to fully think that he's holding up 5 fingers. Yeah, it's really trippy. For a nice example of revisionist media, I suggest Disney's Pocahontas or The Song of the South. But not in a, go watch them kind of way, in a, these are some examples of revisionist trash kind of way, Basically, don't watch them. I mean, Pocahontas is, pretty, the music's good, but it's also revisionist trash. Anyway, I've never actually seen Pocahontas. In The Liberation of Earth, we see what happens when more than one group has control of the history. History of the times when the Trox occupied Earth is very Trox-synthetic, and history of when the Dendi occupied the Earth is very pro-Dendi. There's a section in the story of the second time the Trox take control of the Earth that our narrator writes. When the Trox ripped their way back into possession of Earth some 18 months later, bringing us the sweet fruits of the second liberation, as well as a complete and most convincing rebuttal of the Dendi. Here we see an allegiance shift mid-sentence. Ripped is a very violent verb. It was done by force, but it was sweet, fruit. 2 paragraphs later, he writes, the Dendi came back for the glorious re-liberation a short time after that. Pick Alain! During this time we hear of all the great things our liberators did, like blowing large chunks out of the planet, killing interpreters of the enemy language, putting humans to work in dangerous situations, gassing entire cities in order to attack someone else, scorching the Earth's surface, killing off most of the human race and likely the animals, knocking Earth off its orbit, leaving without fixing it. And in the end, well, looking about us, we can say with pardonable pride that we've been about as thoroughly liberated as it is possible for a race and planet to be. Now, did Tenn write this story with historical revisionism in mind? Maybe, maybe not. But there's a difference between what an author meant when writing a work and what it can apply to. For further reading or viewing, I'll link Lindsay Ellis' video on the death of an author down below, as well as in the allegory and coding section from her video on Bright. Basically, you can find allegories in the text that work well without the author having gone out of their way to write it that way. For instance, Lord of the Rings can be read as an allegory for World War II, but Tolkien denied that. He's very often denied that. However, he embraces that people have found that allegory within his work. He just doesn't want people to believe that he put it there intentionally. It's still there. For our purpose, however, it is a bit more obvious that Tenn was writing with a critique of imperialism in mind. And with this, it's not out of the blue to think some historical revisionism came along with his satirical imperialism. However, I am the only person I've seen make the claim that there's an allegory for historical revisionism in this story, so either I'm the only one to notice it or I'm grasping at straws. Hello.